made with spoken. The Gurt Dog of New Bannockburn by Jason Kristopher. Digital narration, performed by multiple digital voices.
They're here, finally, to cage me or kill me.
Transmission begins. Subject, Expedition Log. Planet, New Bannockburn. Transmission code, Epsilon 7. Commander, Captain Elena Voss-Ragen. Recipient, Galactic Exploration Authority. Central Command. Date, 369-2.75, Sidereal-2. Locals deny existence of
Redacted. Classified.
Species Unit. Initiating search. Further information when able. Transmission ends.
Legends are like that sometimes. That's how it started with the stuttering, chittering tetrapods in the tunnel town recesses of Ajax Beta, who are really just lovely once you get to know them, provided you stay out of their nests during mating season. And with the towering fairy fire dragons of the western wastes on Brimnor 6, though they're only weather patterns masquerading as puzzles for the biophysicists who continue scratching their heads and try to give meaning to the meaningless. Point is, legends have to start somewhere. Mine started that way. And for all of them, the same fate when caught: cages, or death, if they're lucky. All I wanted to do, though, was forget the incessant wars and the horrors I inflicted on Ajax Beta, and Grimnor 6 and all the rest. So much pain, in so many places, to so many lives, mine included. I just wanted to curl up here on this hillside, my tail under me and my snout on my paws, enjoying the serene blue sunset over the purple fields, with no one else anywhere nearby, Calyx, or human, or tetrapod, or anything else. I needed to forget. Not easy to do when you're being hunted for your abilities. The abilities I never wanted, never asked for, and can't lose, even if I haven't killed anything or anyone in years other than fish and rodents. Even now, as I record this hollow, the scent of these humans following me wafts over the waving grass on the breeze that tickles my beard. My ears flick forward, and I snort softly as the quiet clink of gear and the rattle of dislodged stones tells me the soldiers are too close for comfort. Time to move again.
Transmission begins. Site located. Abandoned. Scout reports inconsistent tracking capability. Locals unhelpful. Insist subject non-existent. Resuming search. Transmission ends.
They got close that time. Some locals spotted them and caused a ruckus, throwing off their trackbot. The locals like me, though their heavy accent was tough to parse at first.
Scamper did ya aye? You're right, bro, run. Your mine is the old hame. Go and hide. We'll keep you safe, hame.
I had to use my transcoder at first, way back then, but that's one of the reasons I chose this world. The locals come from hardy stock, back on old Earth, as did my kind originally, or so these folk tell me. Even back then, they were sometimes unintelligible, distrusting of outsiders, and partial to the, shall we say, more natural forms of the universe. Not that anyone would call me, or my kind, natural anymore. Not after what was done to us. I scared them, at first, when I stepped off the transport. I'm certainly a bit much for most humans at first glance. Even my distant, ancestral cousins ran from me, though they eventually came over and said hello with much fuss. I had no plans when I arrived, still shaking from the last battle, where I had gone AWOL. Where it had all gone wrong, for all the ones like me. So I'd found the only room available to me, and the human was wide-eyed when she scanned the code on my cred tag. Hardly surprising. Even during the wars, my kind weren't too prevalent in civilian areas, but eventually she just shrugged and pointed up the stairs to the guest rooms. More than a week later, I finally moved on, tired of the crowds and noise and too many smells from too many humans in too little space. She said she was sorry to see me go. I believed her. That kind human and all her kin are long dead now, and I'm still roaming the hills. I've seen few of the human locals in many years, but occasionally I'll save one of their sim sheep or other livestock, and they'll leave a little care package out. That's how legends start, and now, apparently, those legends have called in the hunters. As legends always do. I should not backtrack, ever, but I haven't been here in years, and I'm always careful to pack out what I bring in. One good thing the humans taught me. There's soft purple grass to lie on, some good springs a little further up the hill, and the views can't be beat. Best of all, no humans, or anyone else, not for miles. I can't stay, not for long, and not just because of Captain Voss-Ragen and her cronies. Earlier, I snuck in and got to Orlando when her squad was out hunting for me. The tech was updated, but my augment still worked, and I accessed her files and found what I needed. It had been a long time since I connected in that way, and I still hated it, except for these holos. But I can't deny the augment was handy. I left no tracks or other evidence. I don't have much time left on my scent masker, but that was as good a use for it as any the Corps gave me. The water of the loch was extra cold today, and the somewhat matted gray and white fur of my coat still dripped from my first bath in quite some time. I'm not sure that they're tracking me by scent, but every bit helps. This cave is smaller than I remembered. I had to duck as I walked in, and my ears still brushed the top of it. Maybe I've grown since I've been here, or maybe it's just the memories that fill my time now, being distorted by distance and, well, time. The sun is going down, and my paw is cramping as I hold this holopad. Even with the damnable mods, there are some things that just don't come easy. Time to rest for the night. The good captain won't move her team after dark. Not when she's hunting one of us anyway. At least the stories the Corps spread during and after the war, tall tales, at best, are helping with that.
Transmission begins. Subject evading in real time. Knows we're here. Message received. Voss-Ragen, I'm out. Don't make me hurt you. Subject confirmed.
Redacted. Classified.
Unit 017. Proceeding as planned. Transmission ends.
This one is different, this human captain. Different from the ones before. She's not following the usual procedure for the Corps, or whatever the Corps has turned into now. I've been gone long enough that it's probably changed hands a couple dozen times, and gone through 50 different mission statements. One of the benefits, I suppose, of the treatments they gave us. After all, can't have your most vicious fighters dying of old age just a few years into a war. Even now, thinking of those treatments makes me growl low in the back of my throat, and raises the even grayer now hackles on the back of my neck. Still, life and war taught me not to let some stupid human get the better of me. I am a thinking being. I am a thinking being. I am a thinking being. Just repeating the mantra that Lucas taught me back in the ward helps me calm down. He wasn't going with us to the front, but he was smart. Too different, they'd told him. Too unmanageable. Too new. The Corps was stupid sometimes. Hell, humans were stupid sometimes. Lucas was the best of us, of all the braids, and it warmed my heart that he was out there, still alive, still forging his own path, and lighting the way for the rest of us. Even if some of us had retreated from the universe and all its horrors. It's another new, old place tonight, one that's familiar but also feels like I've outgrown it. A scattering of old leaves and other windswept detritus provides a soft bed over the rough stone floor of the cave, and the scents are all old. Faded. Like me. Memories of my first few years here flood back now, when I still had hope that things would change back in the world. That one of the few good ones would come find me, come bring me home and tell me that everything was done, and that I could just be happy for a while. I snorted at the innocence of those days. The pack came off my back easily tonight. The long hike did me good, even if my muscles and the pads on my paws were sore and I was panting more than usual. I hadn't run this far in a while, and it annoyed me again that I had to do it because of some human. There's a bright light in the distance. Damn, this captain has a brain in her head. Wonderful.
Transmission begins. Subject eludes, but Scout suggests maybe using old paths. Confirm launch of SAT-track system. Estimate 1 to 2 rotations for contact. Transmission ends.
I should have forged a new path, I guess. Lucas did. But you get complacent as you age, and even we age, albeit so slowly glaciers call us ancient. Whatever ones of us survived the wars, anyway. I'm still here. Well, it's another place, but I'm still safe. And in hiding, with none the wiser as I record this. I'm worried about what happened today. It was the smell that woke me, my nose and its thousands of scent receptors working overtime as always. The scent was familiar and invaded my dreams. Maybe it was the impossibility of the smell that did it. Creston cakes didn't exist here. The ingredients would have to be imported, and the cost. I'd be surprised if anyone here on Bannockburn even knew what a Creston was, to say nothing of wanting to spend the unimaginable amount of creds to bring one here, milk it, process the milk, and then wait 2 years for it to ferment. No, this was the good captain, tempting the legend, the monster, the spirit in the hills with a tasty reminder of its past, sure to bring it out of hiding. She'd done her research. She knew the cakes were irresistible to us from our training days. Yes, they were tasty, and yes, I loved them. But I was also a thinking, intelligent being, and I knew what she was doing. Still, it had been a long time. A very long time. More than 1 generation of humans had been born, lived, and died since I had one of the cakes. The drool leaking out of my jaws and down my gray-black beard was proof of that, if nothing else. So I did what I knew I shouldn't. I turned on my scent masker again and crept closer, onto an outcrop of rock covered in grass, turned just the right way, and spied on the human squad as they tracked me, or tried to. I'd been keeping tabs on them for days, of course, but this was as close as I'd gotten. Most of the squad hid under the thick, leafy branches of some sedora trees, but I knew they were there, and not just by their scents, though those were harder to pick out than I'd expected. Scent maskers must have been upgraded in my time away, but we were always better anyway. They'd left their mind prints unshielded, though, which was odd for the Corps. Perhaps there weren't enough sensitives still around for it to be an issue. There were only humans in this squad, except for the trackbot, and I was surprised by that too. No X's? What had the Corps done with them? I knew they wouldn't have any of us with them, after what happened, but no X's at all? I stayed still, scanning the sky, but saw none of the AVICs, giant earth condors, reborn for war as undetectable, organic aerial scouts. Nor even a whiff of the docile yet dangerous Equix packers, ubiquitous on most Corps expeditions. Captain Voss-Ragen, Elena, was out front, down on one knee, as she put the Creston cake on an upturned ration lead and set it on a flattish rock at the edge of a small clearing. She glanced around, but I knew that trick, and stayed perfectly still. She wasn't tall, a little over 1.5 meters, with short dark hair and a sort of quiet gravity to her movements that I knew most humans would envy. A presence, someone who was in the world, not just walking through it, and she reminded me of my first trainer. She hadn't lasted long with us, if only because she hated what was done to improve us, to make us more useful in the wars to come. Elena made a point of showing she was unarmed as she walked back to the squad, and that confused me to no end. Did she really think I was that desperate to fall for such an obvious plot to trap me? I waited quite a while, until she sighed, shook her head, and trudged into the woods with the others. And now, here I am, brushing Creston crumbs from my beard with a paw, in this old hideout, miles from my usual haunts. Maybe, perhaps, possibly, I was wrong about this human?
Transmission begins. Contact made at level 1. No comms, but good news. Hoping for more tomorrow. Transmission ends.
The nightmares brought me back this time. I couldn't wait until tonight to record. My training, for good or ill, is in too deep, and I need to get this out. My 40th mission, or my 140th. There was no real distinction, especially in the dream. Another planet, another mission to eradicate the enemy, though no one ever explained to me who, exactly, the enemy was. Just that I was to use my augments and teeth and claws to eradicate them. I did. So much blood on my muzzle that it took an hour to wash it all off. The copper taste was in my mouth when I woke, and the flecks of red on the ground meant I'd bitten myself in my sleep. Son. Again. That hadn't happened in a long time either. Longer even than the last time I'd had one of those cakes. The psychoses evident in the early canics weren't supposed to happen at all to us later gens, but not everything the gene wizards dreamed up actually worked the way it was supposed to. And they'd certainly never intended any of their mods to work for this many years. It's funny, in a way. Their experiments with us didn't just reverse the dichotomy of our age differentials, though they did that too, at first. They ended up completely obliterating them, turning those of us left into living legends. Is it really life, though, when you spend it wandering the grassy hills and dark, wet moors and gazing into the crystal-clear lochs? No one nearby, no one to talk to, no one to experience life with. Certainly, none of us, the few who survived the wars, now scattered to the galactic winds, and our psychic connections, the ones the best human minds never figured out, were tenuous at best. Just enough to know that there were some of us still out there, still holding on, somehow. I hated being a soldier. I didn't like the killing, or the blood, or the rewards that always made me feel so small and stupid, no matter how many I got, or what they were for. I hated life in the core. But I hate this life too. And I'm so tired.
Transmission begins. Brief visual confirmation of subject. Subject file indicates post-human intelligence. Sighting likely purposeful. Progress slow but within limits. Transmission ends.
It was a local who made the choice for me, or rather, a local child. Sometimes pups escape their elders, even with humans, and that's what happened with this one. There was a yarrowing series of screeches from the next glen, and I raced off, my pack tightened down, my paws and legs strong and sure, after all the new exercise I'd been forced into. It didn't take long for me to track them, and sure enough, this young boy had stumbled into a nest of one of the galaxy's more annoying insects, the macro beetle. The nest lay in the middle of a small stand of trees, hidden for the most part, unless you were careful and knew how to spot them. The beetle's sting was painful, especially in large numbers, but you'd have to be stung by a whole swarm twice over to suffer any lingering effects. That didn't help this foundling, maybe 7 or 8 years old, from screaming when he'd been stung as many times, or when a local legend comes to life in front of their eyes, charging out of the underbrush. I'm intimidating. I was bred that way. It's literally in my genes. But I also know how to deal with the reaction it provokes in humans, because that's there too. I bent down, lowered my ears, and snorted as I shook my head, then nuzzled the young one's arm as he held it with the other, grimacing in pain but no longer shrieking. His long blonde hair fell to one side, and his eyes shot wide, not believing what he was seeing. It wasn't my first time. I sniffed at the stings, then gently dragged the boy by the collar away from the nest to rest against a tree. I nudged his arm again and went looking for the plant the older humans used in similar situations. It wasn't until I burst back into the glen, bitter, slimy leaves in my mouth, that I picked up what my nose had been telling me. More humans. Captain Elena and I locked eyes across the little grove as her squad came through the trees, and we both skidded to a stop. The child, for his part, glanced back and forth so fast that he had to be dizzy, before finally spotting the leaves I carried and, whimpering, reached out for me. I took a few cautious steps, and when Elena and her squad didn't move, I kept going. Here's the summary. The kid got their meds, I wasn't shot or captured, and Elena and I went our separate ways, giving me much to ponder. She never even made a move toward me, just squatted down to watch me, and I picked up nothing but awe, strangely, from her mind print. I'm in a new place tonight. It's fine, but I'm keeping my pack on, just in case.
Transmission begins. Subject saved local child. Still no comms. Non-aggression from both Expo unit and subject. Excellent progress. Transmission ends.
She spoke to me today, or at least tried to. After I realized my transcoder must be busted, I stopped trying to understand and just listened to her tone and her emotions from her mind print. It's crazy, but I don't think she wants to capture me. There weren't any weapons on her, not even any no-kill capture variants. At least, not any obvious ones. Only one of her 3-person squad had some sort of updated stun pistol, similar to the ones used years ago, but they never reached for it. This is not the core I knew. I smelled that on them. They were different. But different enough. Oh, to come home. I want to be loved again. To not be alone. I didn't realize until today how much I want that.
Transmission begins. Closest approach to subject yet. Comms initiated. No response. No aggression. Or try again. Transmission ends.
A new transcoder awaited me in the glen I wandered into this morning. A random glen. Either she knew where I was going, or she put them all over, but that meant she knew where I was. And I was careful with my tradecraft. I even walked reverse in my own footprints at one point. Do you know how hard that is for a Canucks? What's more is the message she left on the transcoder.
We mean you no harm. We are not here to take you, unless you want to come. We just want to talk, to tell you what's happened. Will you meet?
A set of coordinates. Close, but not too close. And a field I've been to before. Lots of room to run if I needed or wanted to. Dawn. Early. But I was always an early riser. I left the transcoder there. I'm certain it was trackable. I doubt I'll sleep tonight.
Transmission begins. Cons established, one way. Mission parameters set. Subject aware of intentions. Transmission ends.
Dawn broke with crisp, cool air, filled with scents of all types and kinds, coming down from the mountains and blowing across the field. Life here has a certain smell, different from nearly everywhere else I've ever been. Everything else aside, it was beautiful. And I stood for a moment just inside the trees, screened from view, and breathed it all in. Of course I came. How could I not? My kind always had, for humans, and always would. When called by those worthy, at any rate. She stood shivering in the growing light, no weapons, no equipment, other than the throat-mounted transcoder most humans from off-world war, and most importantly, her squad wasn't there. No sense, no mind prints, other than hers and some lingering higher-order insects. I took a deep breath, then another. It was time. I was tired, and I'd either go home or it would all end here in this field. Not for her, just for me. I knew the kill tooth would still work. That was the whole point. Hope is a dangerous thing. I hoped I wouldn't have to use the tooth. I hoped I could finally go home. I hoped. She flinched, just a little, as I brushed through the trees, my eyes meeting hers even from a few hundred paces away. I didn't blame her. A Canucks coming toward you was always a little unnerving for humans. Even 35,000 years of mutual evolution can only do so much to calm them down. Soon enough, we were eye to eye, barely a meter apart. I hadn't interacted with another human in decades outside of the occasional rescue, and I knew she'd never seen one of us in person until the other day with the child. Elena was far too young for that. She spoke, and the transcoder fumbled for a bit, trying different dialects, even a screeching one that made my eyes itch and both of us wince. Eventually, the output was in what I thought of as Terran Standard, though apparently that had evolved too, over the years, judging by the delay in translation.
I'm Captain Elena Voss-Ragen of the Galactic Exploration Authority.
She paused, glanced down, and I was shocked at the tears in her eyes.
I've been looking for you for a long, long time. So many of us have.
I considered that for a moment, cocking my head first to one side, then the other as I studied her. She laughed a little, startling me and causing an involuntary jerk back. Her eyes widened, and she clapped a hand over her mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She spread her arms wide.
It's just so much like...
It doesn't matter. I truly mean you no harm. We really have been looking for you.
I peered at her again, then stepped a smidge closer to give her a good sniff, just for my scent receptors to line up with her mind print. I coughed and cleared my throat, startling her in turn, and tried to avoid grinning, happy to be talking to a human again. Her transcoder changed my own growls into what passed for Terran Standard. No core? I asked, nudging the unfamiliar symbol on her sleeve with my snout, before pulling back quickly out of reach. She shook her head and frowned.
No core. They're gone now, disbanded. More than 100 years ago, after what they did to you, to all of you.
She paused as her eyes widened.
How long have you been here?
Long time. I scratched with my hind leg at an errant insect. What want? I tried to keep my tone neutral, which the transcoder helped with, but the longing for home made it tough. A longing I thought I'd put behind me. The tears were evident again as she took a breath, and her mind print settled somewhat.
We know what happened to you.
She shook her head.
No, that's not right. What our people did to you. I'm only here, my family is only here, because of what you did on Tassalon. You saved us.
She took a deep breath and a small step forward.
I'm here to ask you to come home with us, to see the others who've come home too, to see what we've built in your honor and because of all you sacrificed. There's so much.
I had no idea what to say. My mind raced. She was telling the truth. She couldn't lie to one of us. No human could. We scented and sensed lies, and neither triggered. Ho! I allowed myself to feel the word for the first time in forever. But the past isn't wiped away that easily. I sat back on my haunches and glared at her. Cage, kill, blood. I snorted and shook my head, but I didn't leave. It was a test.
I know what they did to you, what they made you do. We don't do that anymore, and haven't since you. Our young forced change.
She looked away.
It was hard, but needed.
She stared at me, but not aggressive, and there was no lie when she continued.
No cage, no kill, no blood.
She shuddered at the first, as much as she did at the last in my list. She'd passed the test. I tilted my head again, then gazed at the world where I'd chosen to live for so long. But it had never been my home, and I so wanted one. Okay. I looked back. Pull. She beamed a huge smile at me, and before either of us knew what was happening, she reached out and scratched me behind the ears.
Good boy.
And, as all the old gods are my witness, and heavens help me, I wagged my tail.
The end. We hope you've enjoyed this production of
The Gurt Dog of New Bannockburn, made with spoken.
This is Jason Kristopher. The Gurt Dog of New Bannockburn is one of my favorite stories, and, for my money, one of my best. It was inspired by my partner, the love of my life, who, like the inimitable Captain Elena Voss-Ragen, found and brought back into the world her very own Gurt Dog. One of the reasons I love this story so much is also that we all struggle with life sometimes, and I'm no different. By telling the story, I'm hoping to let anyone and everyone know that somehow, some way, there is still some hope out there, even in our darkest moments. It's my hope that you enjoy this story, and that it brings a little bit of light into your life, because that's all it takes to banish the darkness, a single flame.
Professional audiobooks in a click. Spoken.